We're used to the fact that time continuously flies forward. For many of us, it's taken for granted when we stare at our smartphone screen and write in our work chat thread, "I'll send the report in 15 minutes." But what if time were variable? Suppose it could slow down, speed up, and even go in reverse. Newton believed that the flow of time is like an arrow that moves steadily in one direction only. However, Einstein crushed this theory and proved that time can change for different observers. In this video, we'll travel at the speed of light. The police are chasing you, and you need to get away quickly. By some miracle, there's one empty seat in a rocket flying by. You have absolutely no time to think about where it's flying or why. By the way, what about time? You wish the cops a journey of no return into a black hole, and look at your watch. And this is when the strangest thing begins. You fly at a speed of 99.999% the speed of light, but the hand of the clock slows down, and time seems to stretch out like jelly. Is this really possible? While you watch with fascination as time stops in a rocket, we return to the early 1900s when Albert Einstein was taking a tram. While riding in the tram, the scientist looked at the street clock and suddenly realized that if the tram accelerated to the speed of light, in his perception, this clock would stop and there would be no time at all. This led him to formulate one of the central themes of relativity: everything is relative. For example, if Einstein's neighbor were to drop her glasses on a tram, then for her, they will drop straight down, while to an observer on the street, they will fly along a parabola trajectory because the tram is in motion. Einstein also suggested that there's no single standard frame of reference. Everything is relative, even time. To begin with, let's understand that even if you're sitting in one place, you still continue to move. And this is movement in time. If you sit for a minute without moving, you'll find yourself in the future 1 minute in relation to the starting point. If you didn't move in time, then you'd be frozen in this moment forever, which is worse than being dead. But what happens if you get up and take a step forward? You've now moved in space, just a little bit while still moving in time. And then, strange things start to happen. When you start to move in space, your speed is changing, and you experience slightly slower movement in time, while your speed through space increases slightly. It's similar to a system of communicating vessels. If you take from one, it will arrive from the other, and vice versa. Thus, an increase in speed can distort events. Imagine a person standing on a platform with 2 lightning bolts striking on either side of them. Since this person is in the middle of these 2 points, the rays of light reach them simultaneously from both sides. But the paradox begins when another person who's on the train, traveling at the speed of light, looks at it. First, they'll see the light from the lightning closer to the train, and then the second lightning strike. Thus, time for a person at high speed slows down, and events are distorted. In fact, by approaching the speed of light, we create a time machine. Unfortunately, humanity is still too far from such a possibility. The highest speed at which a person has ever traveled is only 39,897 kilometers per hour. This is just 3/100ths of the speed of light. But let's imagine that anything is possible on our journey and return to the rocket, which is about to reach the speed of light. You are still looking at your watch while you ask the pilot to speed up. The sound of the engine echoes in your ears as you watch in fascination at the stars from the window, which rush by and appear red due to acceleration. But the time on your watch remains like a thick jelly, which seems to have begun to freeze. The clock seems to have stopped forever. In fact, increasing the speed of the spacecraft was not a good idea. Already at 10% of the speed of light, an increase in mass and a slowdown in time can be observed. If an object moves at 90% of the speed of light, then its mass doubles, and 20 minutes will be like 10. When an object reaches the speed of light, then its mass becomes almost infinite. This means that an infinite mass requires an infinite amount of energy, which is not found in any of the most powerful rockets. Therefore, in principle, it's impossible to speed up and surpass the speed of light. Let's imagine that we did manage to access infinite energy and see what happens next. You feel doomed as you look through the porthole. The stars are no longer visible. The space around the spacecraft becomes a solid dark tunnel because the light waves no longer reach your eyes. Your speed is 270,000 kilometers per second, 90% of light speed. The red light in the cockpit spreads out into a multitude of reflections. The clock has completely stopped. Now you're almost sure you must be asleep. Suddenly, a hail of bullets pierces the ship's hull. The cops have surely caught up with us. We have no time. Let's go to light speed. The bullets stop in midair, like in the Matrix, and then start flying in the opposite direction. However, these aren't bullets. The fact is that at the speed of light, any speck of dust, from atomized hydrogen atoms to micrometeorites, inevitably become capable of piercing the ship's hull through and through. As you dodged these dust bullets, the ship managed to exceed the speed of light. Yes, from the point of view of science, this is impossible. And yet, we've gone too far in terms of capabilities of modern technology. So let's imagine what will happen next. When the speed of light is exceeded, cause and effect relationships begin to break, and events unfold in the reverse order. Now we will gradually catch up with the light emitted by sources at all earlier times. First, we would catch up with the photons emitted 10 minutes ago, then go back an hour, and so on. We could see, for example, an old man who gradually turns into a middle-aged man, then into a young boy, and lastly into a child. That is, time has turned back, and we're moving from the present to the past. The causes and effects have been reversed. Don't even try to imagine it in your head. The speed of light exceeds even the speed of thought, which moves only 250 kilometers per hour. Logically, you are returning to the moment when the flight just started. You just boarded the rocket, and you already know how this journey will end. So, we return to the beginning, and this time, you will act differently. Why accelerate to the speed of light when you can teleport away from the cops? I'll make a story about this in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.